Welcome to the deep dive. We have a truly extraordinary, tailor-made deep dive for you today. It starts with what looks like a hidden multi-million-dollar fortune, involves a deeply compromised lawyer, and, well, it ends with a murder conviction.
Right, but the story we're about to unpack is far stranger and actually much more systemic than any of the headlines really suggested at the time.
It really is. It's a phenomenal example of how, legal secrecy and just sheer personal desperation can collide and completely derail justice in the process.
Absolutely. So our mission today is to quickly navigate the lies, the intense legal maneuvering, and then the ultimate really shocking truth behind the poisoning death of 85-year-old Eleanor Barnett.
Okay, so at the center of this whole hurricane is Eleanor Barnett, or Netty as she was called, an elderly widow who somehow convinced her lawyer, Simon Latch, that she was sitting on this massive, hidden $20 million fortune.
Yeah, and let's start right there because this central lie, this claim of $20 million, it's basically the gasoline that fueled this entire disaster.
It really is.
And this wasn't just some vague claim either. Nettie was, meticulously specific about her supposed holdings. That's what made the story so incredibly compelling to Latch, you see.
Okay, what did she say she had?
She claimed around $10 million was tied up in Coca-Cola stock.
Wow.
And another $6 million or so in Walmart stock.
That's already a huge portfolio right there.
Totally. And then, to explain why nobody local knew about it, she claimed she kept almost $4 million in cash.
Cash.
Yeah, cash. At East Federal in Atlanta, specifically to keep it away from, local gossip and the prying eyes in her small community.
Kind of the perfect story, isn't it? Plausible, hidden. And she backed it up with a believable origin story, too, right? About her husband.
Exactly. Her late husband, Harry Corsack, he was a former Coca-Cola district sales rep.
Right.
And Nettie swore he just bought stock constantly all through his career, and this is the key part, never sold a share.
So it creates this really folksy narrative, doesn't it? Quiet generational wealth just piling up.
Yeah, it's the kind of story that makes people nod and think, okay, that tracks. And, when you look at the pressure Latch was under personally and financially, $20 million wasn't just a potential payday. It looked like a life raft.
Okay, let's unpack Simon Latch's world then. Because you really need to understand the absolute train wreck he was living in for this $20 million fantasy to seem like a sober, actionable reality. What was his situation?
Well, Latch was financially drowning, pretty much. His law practice focused mostly on bankruptcies, which, means low margins.
Not a lot of money in that.
Not really. Our sources suggest he was maybe earning about $1,000 on a $20,000 deal. I mean, he was barely scraping by.
So basically working hard just to stay broke.
It was actually worse than that. He was privately imploding. He was secretly going through this really nasty divorce from his wife, Paula, which meant he couldn't even afford to live anywhere decent. He was actually living in the closet.
The closet, what's that?
It was this tiny, remodeled suite upstairs at his office. He was essentially hiding from the world, living above his workplace.
Wow. That's quite a visual. A lawyer trying to keep up appearances, but secretly living in an office closet.
Yeah, and that desperation, it was made even worse by a severe illicit gambling problem.
Oh, no.
Yeah. We know he owed Chubb's Bar, a local place, $6,300. So you put it all together. Financially desperate, physically hiding, probably deeply ashamed, and just desperately seeking some kind of quick, massive infusion of cash to clean up the mess.
So when Nettie walked in, talking about $20 million.
You didn't see a client. He saw a solution. His solution.
And this is where the ethical slide starts almost immediately, isn't it? Because Latch actually knew better.
He absolutely knew better. He himself noted that, a lot of clients didn't even really need a will, and that the standard $250 fee for a simple one was kind of a ripoff anyway, since you could get free ones online.
Okay, so he knew it was often unnecessary.
Right. That internal awareness makes his next move all the more calculated. Despite knowing better, he quickly worked to draft a new will for Nettie, specifically designed to replace the one done by his rival lawyer, Wally Fackerman.
And the goal wasn't just the couple $100 for drafting it, was it?
Oh, not at all. The goal was positioning. He planned to appoint himself attorney for the estate and the trust, which meant he could set his own fees. And the source material says he was planning on an obscene $500 an hour.
$500 an hour? Based on a $20 million estate.
Exactly. This was the ultimate multi-million-dollar payoff he was chasing. He saw that $20 million as his personal lottery ticket. He was going to ride this thing all the way.
What's also key here, though, is the immediate warning sign about the family dynamics. Netty gave him a heads up, didn't she?
She did. She made it crystal clear she did not want to leave any money to Harry's two sons from a previous marriage, Clyde and Jerry Corsack.
And her reasoning.
She called them nothing but trouble, straight up.
Okay, nothing but trouble. And that wasn't just talk, was it? That warning got reinforced pretty violently.
Absolutely. The volatility of that family was definitely not theoretical. Clyde Corsack, one of those stepsons, he brutally assaulted Wally Thackerman.
The lawyer who drafted her first will.
The very same one. Assaulted him right in Thackerman's office. So this just hammered home the image of a hostile, maybe dangerous family ready to fight anyone who stood between them and that perceived fortune.
Okay, so the stage is set. We've got a lawyer desperate for this $20 million, dealing with a client who supposedly has it, and facing these potentially violent, entitled stepsons.
It really is a powder keg.
Yeah. And now, Netty's own life starts to decline, which leads her directly into the path of danger.
What happened with her?
Well, her life started unraveling pretty rapidly, mainly because of her driving. She racked up 3 speeding tickets in quick succession, including a full reckless driving charge, which then caused her car insurance, Allstate, to cancel her policy.
It's a serious red flag for someone her age.
Yeah.
Losing insurance. It is. And very shortly after losing her insurance, she was hospitalized. She'd been in a serious car wreck.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it was suspected to be DUI related. She ended up at Blue Ridge Memorial Hospital, and that's where the crime ultimately happens.
Right. And this is where the story pivots hard. From, financial maneuvering and desperation straight into a criminal investigation. Because while she was in the hospital, Netty didn't die from her car wreck injuries.
No, she died from acute toxic poisoning.
Chilling. What did they find?
The autopsy was definitive. She had moderate levels of thallium in her system.
Thallium, I've heard of that. It's bad stuff.
No, it's notorious. In forensic science, it's sometimes called the poisoner's choice.
Why is that?
Because it's highly toxic, obviously, but it's also odorless, colorless, and tasteless. It's an almost undetectable way to murder someone, especially in a controlled environment like a hospital.
And the investigation traced the source directly back to Latch.
Well, the circumstantial evidence was devastatingly simple, and it pointed right at him. The poison, the thallium, was found in some Saigon ginger cookies. Ginger cookies from a local place, Tan Lu's Vietnamese restaurant. Simon Latch bought those specific cookies.
He loved them.
He did. And his secretary, Matilda, delivered them directly to Netty in her hospital room.
Oof. Circumstantially, that looks really bad for Latch. He's the clear link.
Exactly. And this is where Latch's own actions, even if he was innocent, look absolutely damning in hindsight. Before the poisoning was even fully diagnosed, he was moving fast. Really fast.
To do what?
To control Netty's fate, essentially. Our sources confirm he secured an advance directive and a medical power of attorney from Netty herself while she was in the hospital.
Giving him control.
Total control over her medical affairs. And it specifically instructed no resuscitation, no ventilators, no feeding tubes.
So it looks like he was basically ensuring she wouldn't survive, regardless of the cause.
That's certainly how the prosecution painted it, like he was preemptively guaranteeing she would die.
And then came the cremation issue.
Yes, the critical error, or perhaps the critical move, depending on your perspective. He pushed immediately for cremation.
Which his legal opponents jumped all over.
Of course they did. They argued it was a deliberate scheme, a calculated move to destroy the evidence of thallium poisoning before anyone could do more tests.
So in court, it just creates this perfect storm of suspicion, doesn't it?
It painted the perfect picture for the prosecution. A greedy, financially ruined lawyer poisons his wealthy client, tries to destroy the forensic evidence by rushing cremation, and stands ready to collect millions from the estate he now controls.
He had motive, the supposed $20 million. He had opportunity delivering the poisoned cookies via his secretary, and his behavior afterwards was highly suspicious.
Exactly. That narrative was incredibly powerful. It dominated the press coverage. It led directly to his indictment for first-degree murder. The headlines were sensational. State lawyer accused in poisoning death of wealthy widow client. A national story.
And that motive, that $20 million carrot, that was the absolute cornerstone of the prosecution's case against him.
It was everything. But here's where the first major twist completely flips the script.
Okay, twist number 1.
The money. The $20 million. The entire foundation for the motive.
Yeah.
It was a total, complete fabrication. A hoax.
Get out. Seriously.
Dead serious. Once Latch was arrested, a much deeper investigation finally began. They talked to Harry Corsack's former broker, a guy named Buddy Brown from Rumpke Brown, and the truth came out. The alleged $20 million in Coke and Walmart stock, the real value was, quote, substantially less than $500,000. Total.
Less than $500,000 instead of $20 million.
That's right. Latch wasn't just desperate, he was chasing a ghost, a complete fantasy.
So Latch, the guy trying to pull off this scheme to get rich, was actually the one being played.
He was revealed to be the sucker, as the source material puts it, completely duped by what his own defense lawyer later called a nutty old woman with a devious mind.
Wow, so Netty just made it all up.
Apparently, she just preferred the charade of wealth. She was extremely frugal, maybe even pathologically so, and liked the idea of having money more than actually spending it or even, well, having it.
That is tragically ironic. Latch lost everything. His freedom, his reputation over money that never even existed.
Exactly. During the trial, his defense lawyer, Raymond Lassiter, hammered this point. He used this devastating revelation to argue there was absolutely no financial motive. Latch stood to gain basically zero in fees from a non-existent estate.
This is such a critical insight here, isn't it? The legal system, the media, everyone fixated on the potential for greed that the $20 million story offered.
Right.
They completely ignored the fact that the motive had just evaporated into thin air once the truth came out. Latch was convicted based on a compelling narrative, not the actual financial reality.
Precisely. But the story doesn't end there, with Latch just being a victim of his own greed and his client's elaborate lie. There's another twist.
Okay, twist number 2. What happens now?
Well, Latch is in prison, convicted of murder. But he starts fighting his conviction, working with his defense team. They had a hacker involved named Xander, and an FBI contact, Landy. They were determined to find out who really killed Netty.
So they didn't believe he did it, even with all that circumstantial stuff.
They believed the financial motive was gone, and they started digging deeper into the hospital setting itself, and they found him. They uncovered the real killer, Oscar Kofi.
Oscar Kofi. Who was he?
That's the chilling part. He was the ultimate hidden figure, a thoroughly nondescript X-ray technician working at Blue Ridge Memorial Hospital.
An X-ray tech.
Yeah. Someone who had access to Netty's room, absolutely. But more importantly, access to the entire hospital environment, patients, supplies, blending into the background.
Okay, but how did they connect a seemingly random X-ray tech to a very specific, rare poisoning method like thallium?
Latch's defense team, especially the hacker Xander, they uncovered a pattern, a deeply disturbing pattern. Kofi had previously worked at several other hospitals, in Baltimore, for one, and crucially, in Scranton, Pennsylvania. And in those hospitals, patients had died mysteriously, officially from unknown causes.
Don't tell me.
Yeah, those unknown causes. The symptoms reported before death: debilitating headaches, severe nausea, strange skin rashes. They were entirely consistent with the early, often confusing signs of thallium poisoning.
So this wasn't his first time. He was potentially a serial poisoner operating inside hospitals for years.
It certainly looked that way, which raises the biggest, most disturbing question of this whole deep dive. If he had this pattern, if people were dying mysteriously around him, why on earth was he still practicing medicine? Why was he able to just move freely from a hospital in Scranton to one where Netty was? Why wasn't he caught years earlier?
That is the question. What happened in Scranton?
The answer is corporate secrecy, legal maneuvering to protect the institution. Kofi's actions in Scranton, they led to massive settlements with the victim's family.
Settlements, so the hospital knew something was wrong.
They must have suspected, or at least wanted to avoid finding out publicly. These settlements were specifically designed to contain the fallout, to keep it quiet, and they were secured by extremely tough non-disclosure agreements, NDAs.
Ah, the NDAs. So the hospital basically paid off the families to avoid liability, avoid bad press.
Exactly. And in exchange, the victims' families had to sign these NDAs that legally buried the details, specifically the details about thallium poisoning. It was hushed up.
That's stunning. That legal secrecy, designed to protect the hospital's reputation and finances, it directly shielded a likely serial killer.
That's the brutal indictment of the system here. A former lawyer who was connected to that Scranton cover-up, Alan Teal, later confirmed it. His firm fought hard to keep those settlements confidential precisely to protect the hospital's reputation. And the result? It effectively allowed Kofi, a known danger, to continue working in medicine at other facilities.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So these private settlements, these NDAs, they overrode public safety. They overrode the justice system. And they literally put an innocent man, Simon Latch, in prison for a crime committed by Kofi.
That's what happened. Once Latch's defense team presented all this evidence, Kofi's employment history, the clear pattern of suspicious deaths, the Scranton connection, and the undeniable paper trail pointing to the cover-up involving NDAs, the FBI finally opened a full investigation into Kofi.
And the result?
It was inevitable at that point. Simon Latch's murder conviction was vacated, he was exonerated, and the real killer, Oscar Kofi, the X-ray technician, was finally arrested.
Wow, what a journey. From a $20 million lie to a wrongful conviction, all while the real killer was hiding behind hospital NDAs.
It really shows how the system failed on multiple levels. It convicted Latch entirely on circumstantial evidence, fueled by this perfectly compelling but totally false narrative of greed.
Right, the simple, obvious story.
While all along, the real killer was this serial predator who was effectively shielded for years by corporate legal strategies, NDAs, and cover-ups, designed purely to protect hospital reputations and avoid financial loss.
Okay, so let's synthesize this extraordinary deep dive for you, the listener. We see how Netty's lack of financial transparency, her $20 million hoax, combined with the extreme legal secrecy represented by those Scranton NDAs.
Yeah, how they collided. They endangered an innocent man, Simon Latch, and ultimately protected a guilty one, Oscar Kofi. It's a chilling convergence.
It really is. The legal system was so ready to accept one version of greed Latch as obvious, if ultimately imaginary motive.
But it completely missed the deeper systemic failure, the failure that allowed Oscar Kofi to keep practicing, moving from hospital to hospital.
So this leaves us with a truly unsettling final thought for you to consider. This case demonstrates pretty starkly that key information vital for public safety, for criminal justice, can be legally buried under confidential settlements and NDAs.
Yeah, so the question becomes, how many other serial crimes might remain unsolved? How many other innocent people might be wrongfully accused or even convicted, all because the critical piece of evidence, the pattern, the truth, is locked away behind an NDA designed primarily to protect a corporate balance sheet or reputation?
It's a disturbing thought, something to definitely mull over as you navigate the news and the legal landscape around you.
Absolutely.
That's it for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.